Okay, so congratulations are in order. You are now stepping into calculus, one of the biggest branches of mathematics. So good job. In this question, we are looking at the gradient of a function -2 over x, and we want to find what the slope is at x equals -1. So here's -1, and here's f of -1. So it's -1 comma f of -1. And what we want here is the slope. That's our goal. What's the slope there? Well, the strategy is to take another point up here, and that point is in theory infinitely close to blue, but I'm not going to draw it because you won't be able to see distinguish between the two. But it's basically -1, so the x value of this purple point is -1 plus just a little bit, h we call it, comma the y value, which is f of that. Okay, and we take the slope between these 2 points. So clearly these slopes are different right now, but if I brought this purple point down, you'll see that it will approach, the red line will approach the blue line. Now the idea is, what's that number? What is it approaching? What is that slope? Well, we use the slope formula. So we say, just like before, back in 7th and 8th grade, you said y2, which in this case is the purple point, y2, which is f of -1 plus h, minus y1, which is just f of -1, divided by x2 minus x1. That's the slope formula. And now what we need to do is make sure that that h is really, really small. So h approaches 0. So this will actually make sure that that purple point is infinitely close to the blue point. It's just some math notation. Okay, let's do this. Let's simplify it a little bit. So the limit as h approaches 0 of y2 minus y1 all over -1 plus 1 h. Okay, we would love, actually let's go one more step before I say what I want to say. H approaches 0. Let's substitute in f. We know f of x is -2 over x. So -2 over x value. So that's y2 minus y1 all over h. Okay, so what I was going to say was, I want to plug in 0. I want to know what the slope is when the h is 0. Unfortunately, I cannot plug it in right now. I cannot substitute in 0 because I'll be dividing by 0. So the next several steps are only to get rid of this h, because as soon as I can plug in 0 and not divide by 0, that's what I want to do. Okay, so let's simplify this again. Let's go over here. You have to write this limit every time or it wouldn't make sense. As soon as you can plug in 0, you do not have to write it anymore. It's a little bit more incentive. -2 over -1 plus h. And then this is 2, so we have a -2 all over h. Okay, let's simplify it again. So the limit of h approaches 0. Take out a negative, we're going to get 2 over 1 minus h. Make sure you did this right, because there's a negative coming out of the -1 and the plus h. Minus 2 all over h. Let's do a common denominator. 1 minus h over 1 minus h. Okay. We're going to have the limit as h approaches 0 of 2 minus, so distribute the -2, so -2. Distribute the -2 again to the h. You're going to get plus 2h all over 1 minus h all over again h. Okay, keep on rolling. Limit as h approaches 0. 2 minus 2 is 0. So then we have 2h over 1 minus h all over h. Okay, let's multiply by the reciprocal. Multiply by 1 over 1, but it's just h over 1 over h, divide 1 over h. Point of that was to make sure that this canceled. Okay, now we're really close. Limit as h approaches 0 of 2h over 1 minus h times 1 over h. Now look what happened. H divide h. Those goes away, and we're left with the limit of h approaches 0 of 2 over 1 minus h. Now, like I said before, I couldn't plug in 0 here. Couldn't plug in 0 here. I couldn't substitute in 0 any of these places until now. Now I can substitute in 0 because I won't be dividing by 0. So now, substitute in 0, the limit of 2 over 1 minus 0 is equal to 2. Now what this says is that at -1, when the x value is -1 of this function, the slope is 2, which, yeah, it seems reasonable. The slope is definitely positive, and it looks like it's about 2. So let me re-explain sort of the steps. Really, we just have the slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Except y2 is infinitely close to y1, and x2 is infinitely close to x1. So these points are infinitely close together. And then it's just a series of algebra steps getting rid of the h in the denominator until we can plug in 0. And then you're left with the slope. That's it.